Welcome inside another edition of Knicks in 6. Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Rebecca Haarlow alongside Bill Pidto. We're fired up to talk all things Knicks today, especially because they're coming off a really solid win. Jalen Brunson used the word finally, and I feel like the Knicks were really ready for that win.
And it's appropriate that for this segment today, Rebecca, I have my shirt Big Nick Energy on because that was the case against the Cavs. Yeah. How about that defense? 81 points allowed. They had not allowed fewer than 100 points all year. Can you believe that through 23 games? Game 24, they finally hold an opponent under 100 points. I think Rebecca, you look at the box score against Cleveland, and we were talking about it on the postgame show. He played more than anybody else. And he played more than anybody else because of his defense. He did a great job on Donovan Mitchell. And this, obviously, if this continues, it changes the whole narrative of the Knicks season if they can defend like they did against the Cavs.
I agree. And I want to actually take you back to the 24 hours before that game, because I talked to RJ Barrett about it, and he said they were so frustrated, and that was the word he used after that Dallas loss, that he said after that game, everybody went home to their loved ones and everybody had a chance to kind of work that frustration out at home personally. But then he said the next day when they came back for that Cleveland game, it was all about two things. He told me togetherness was key. So everybody had their space, but then they had to come back together because they realized that they're stronger together. And then he also said it was about hustle and heart and just outplaying whoever they're on the floor with. And so heading into that game, he said they really felt like that Dallas game was a wake-up call in a way, and they wanted to change things moving forward. And it was really great to see that play out because they played with that heart, they played with that hustle, and it translated to the defense that you're talking about.
Rebecca, I'm real curious because you're around the team, obviously, you're in the locker room, et cetera. Jalen Brunson, after the Dallas loss, really was kind of not totally honest, but he was totally honest, and you can determine from the message he was really trying to say that he was disgusted with his teammates and his own performance after that Dallas debacle. And then the Knicks were able to respond. How much do you think his comments had an impact on what happened against Cleveland?
I don't necessarily think it was the comments so much as it was the body of work. I don't think any of the guys were happy with the performance against Dallas. And so I think that's where they really looked at each other and said, we need to hold each other accountable. And I know they're doing that inside of the locker room, but I'm okay with Jalen Brunson saying that publicly too, that he's not happy with the play, because that's just yet another way where they're holding each other accountable. And I think Jalen has been amazing for this team because he holds himself accountable first, right? And then he holds all the guys accountable too. And so when he's holding people accountable, they have to step up to that because Jalen is already expecting that same standard from himself, which is why I think he's been such a terrific leader for this team.
Very interesting to me, Rebecca. We often talk about the rotation, and Deuce McBride got season-high minutes against the Cavs. It was a second of a back-to-back, so Derrick Rose didn't play. Cam Reddish didn't play. Tom Thibodeau said after the Cavs game he's only going with 9. So as we go forward here against Atlanta, Charlotte, and Sacramento, it's going to be very interesting to see who that 9th player is. Is it going to be D. Rose or might it be Deuce McBride? McBride plays great defense, hasn't shot the ball well like he has when he's played in the G League. It's going to be very interesting to see how this rotation plays out here in the near term.
I agree with you. And one thing, though, that I will say is that 9-man rotation changes, right? Especially in today's NBA. And whenever there's injuries that are going on, you get a new guy in, or in back-to-back scenarios, you bring a new guy in. Somebody like Derrick Rose might be resting for that. So I think that 9-man rotation is sort of 9-man plus. However, I will say this. I do think that it would be really good for this Knicks team that they do solidify those roles at some point, because I think as a player, and guys have talked to me about this in the past, it's really hard when you don't know exactly where your minutes are coming in. and you don't know what your role is when you get onto the floor because you're not necessarily playing around the same group of guys. So the fact that Coach Thibodeau is emphasizing this 9-man rotation and getting things a little bit more set, I think will be really helpful for the guys who are playing. That being said, I don't want to see a guy like Derrick Rose not get a chance to play. I don't want to see a guy like Cam Reddish not play, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the hard part, and that's where Coach Thibodeau has the tough decisions to make.
So the next three, Atlanta is in town, and we know that Trae Young's having some issues with the coach, Nate McMillan. Charlotte, they're at Charlotte Friday. They're having issues. Charlotte just had a lot of injury problems. They're not playing well. And then Sacramento comes to town on Sunday. Really good opportunity here, Rebecca, I think. And then next week, a couple of games at Chicago. I think there's a good opportunity here near term to finally get some momentum going. They've been unable to get the momentum going. Maybe a great opportunity here.
Absolutely. And, one thing that goes along with building momentum is practice time. And I think that that's a great thing that the Knicks are going to have a lot of moving forward with this stretch of home games. They're able to practice instead of travel, and I think that's big. And then when you look forward to the Chicago game, the fact that they're playing there 2 games in a row also allows for another really solid practice day in between those games. And so especially if coach is going to be solidifying that rotation, it's going to give this team a lot of time to really work on all of those roles and just work on the execution from the offensive and the defensive standpoint. And so you're right, Bill, they have 3 games coming up that they could win, and that will make such a big difference in the Eastern Conference.
All right, Rebecca, it's always great to see you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hopefully the Cavs win as a springboard for great things to come. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you next time on Knicks in 6.